Hey everybody, how's it going? So, it's no secret that many of the world's events today revolve around the machinations of religion, and religion has helped shape and continues to shape the world into what we see it as today. Now, with that in mind, today we're going to take a look at one of the most influential religions in all of human history, that being Buddhism. Today we are going to analyze the origins of Buddhism and what it is, its spread and position in the world today, and what the possible future of Buddhism could be. Now remember y'all, even if you don't follow a certain religion or philosophy, it's still important to understand it so that we can keep an open and educated view of the world around us. Now that includes seeing perspectives that you wouldn't normally be open to, so don't be a twat and learn all you can. Let's get into it. Alright, so strap in, and we're going to start from the beginning of Buddhism with the origins and the founder of Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama, which I might have mispronounced, I apologize, otherwise known as the Buddha. It all stems from the stories told of Siddhartha Gautama, and I say stories because it is not truly known what is true and what is legend. For the first full accounts of Siddhartha, who I will just refer to as Buddha from now, just to make things easier, they were not written until the 2nd or 3rd centuries AD. The story of Buddha is more or less a simple one, and begins with him being the child of a king and queen. A soothsayer had predicted at his birth that he would become a renouncer, aka bad mojo, and abandoning his parents. So his parents decided to pamper him and provide him with all of the pleasures of life. At some point in his childhood, Buddha went on 4 chariot rides, where for the first time he bore witnesses to 4 forms of human suffering that his sheltered life had before then prevented him from seeing. He saw old age, illness, death, and a renouncer. Buddha was shocked at the contrast between his sheltered life and the realities of the world, and he left home to find answers. After failed attempts at severe renunciation that nearly caused his death due to starvation, he realized that these methods were only bringing more suffering. So Buddha ate and sat down beneath a tree to meditate. Now this is where the story has differing accounts, as some stories say he sat beneath this tree for up to 6 months, which obviously is wholly unrealistic. However, what they all have in common is that at some point Buddha attained nirvana, or enlightenment. Now nirvana brought him the answers to why people suffer and how to be released from this suffering. So what did Buddha determine? What was this enlightenment that he found? Well, essentially it comes down to 2 essential doctrines, the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Now the 4 Noble Truths are that life is suffering, suffering is caused by craving, suffering has an end, and that following the Eightfold Path can bring that desired end. Now the Eightfold Path essentially is a collection of principles used to guide those that follow Buddha's path. They are right views, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood or occupation, right endeavor, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Now throughout all of this is the belief that one must follow the middle way, avoiding any extremes in their lives, whether that be moods, actions, thoughts, or beliefs. It is interesting as these beliefs go contrary to modern society, where one seeks immediate pleasure through technology, social media, food, or whatever option they choose. The way of life is extremes, really. Eventually, Buddha did die around 483 BC. However, his teachings and beliefs would live on through his followers, who would help to spread it across Asia and further. Now, after the death of Buddha, inevitably his numerous followers would begin to spread his teachings, and these teachings would then create what we now know as Buddhism. The vast adoption of Buddhism did not begin until the 3rd century BC, when Ashoka, the emperor of India at that time, made Buddhism the state religion. There were monasteries built during this time, and it was also at this time that the beginnings of Buddhist missionary work would take place. What is certainly not surprising is that very quickly Buddhism began to separate into different schools of thought. This has occurred all throughout history in nearly all religions and philosophies, where different leaders developed their own ideas based upon the foundational thoughts and beliefs. For example, Christianity has many different sects such as Catholic, Lutheran, Methodist, etc. For Buddhism, there are three main types in Asia that represent specific geographical boundaries, being Mahayana, Theravada, and Tibetan. Follow the link to history.com that I have down below to find more information on these. Now, eventually Buddhism began to fade into the background in India due to Muslim invasions and the spread of Hinduism and other factors. Now, today the number of followers of some variant of Buddhism is generally accepted to be over 500 million, making it the world's fourth largest religion with about 7% of the world's total population. Now, as with all religion, people, or whatever it may be that has a great following, it has inevitably affected the world in a great way and will continue to do so, and Buddhism is no different. The way the Buddhists perceive the world is shaped by their religion and the fundamental tenets of it. To Buddhists, the world and life is suffering. Yes, however, what they choose to do with that suffering is what I think makes Buddhism so interesting and unique. The philosophy of taking the right actions and the right views and so on means that Buddhism inherently has a very accepting view of the world, as was preached by Buddha so long ago. It is not one's place to go to extremes to change the world, as is so common with other religions that rage religious wars or compete with each other. Buddhism preaches a more peaceful and mindful approach at its core that emphasizes meditation and introspective thought, and a philosophy that could be beneficial to spread in a modern society of extremes in words, actions, and beliefs. Now, although the following of Buddhism is not as large as some other religions where the younger demographics are increasingly turning away from them, these same demographics tend to have a higher view of Buddhism than the main religions, such as Hinduism, Islam, or Christianity. This is especially prevalent outside of the Asian region, where Buddhism is most prevalent. It will be interesting to see if the followers of Buddhism and other religions with the same mindset shall increase in the future. Traditionally, Buddhism has never found the great successes of larger religions, which could be due to it being more of a philosophy than a strict religion. I am curious, however, to see what the next couple generations will think of Buddhism as more and more begin to turn away from the traditional religions in the Western world. Alright, I hope you all learned something about Buddhism today, and maybe this even helped your eyes. I hope you all learned something about Buddhism today, and maybe this even helped open your eyes to a part of the world that you may not be altogether familiar with. If so, well, good for me, mission accomplished, huzzah. And I hope... Now, if you enjoyed this brief little overview of Buddhism, please leave a like, comment, and I can do more videos like this, maybe analyzing Hinduism or Christianity or something. And yeah, I appreciate you all watching, and as per usual, I will see you on the flip side. Peace.